Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point. And you guys remember the story that I covered last year about Dwayne Haskins, who was one of the quarterbacks for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was killed after trying to cross I-595 down in the Miami area, which why has his wife filed a lawsuit? And I kind of get where she's going with the lawsuit, but the lawsuit ain't making no sense to me. And it's not making sense to me for the very same reason it didn't make sense to me about this man trying to cross this road, trying to get some gas, according to the story that they are telling. And so when we left off talking about this case, one of the things that had me kind of scratching my head was that there was a woman in the car with Dwayne Haskins at the time he was killed. We have never learned anything about this woman, who this woman was, why she was in the car, why she came, where she came from, why did she allow him to get out the car and try to cross the highway to go get gas when he didn't even have a gas can. We found out that he was intoxicated at the time. Just a lot of unanswered questions. And then in this lawsuit that his wife is now filing, she names all these people that, as co-defendants in the case, but she don't bring up that woman. And I just don't understand. But here is an article that appeared on Yahoo News. And so it says the wife of the late Dwayne Haskins filed a lawsuit against multiple individuals and companies she claims played a role in her husband's death. Haskins died April 9, 2022, after he was hit by a truck on the side of a Florida highway. Calabria, or I may be pronouncing her name wrong, it's Kalabrya. Haskins' attorney, Rick Elsey, released a statement Monday with more details regarding the former quarterback's death, which was later ruled an accident. Elsley alluded to the fault of the driver of the vehicle that struck Haskins and insinuated that the late Haskins was targeted and drugged as part of a blackmail and robbery conspiracy. Let me see if I can click on this and open up this statement that he released. Or did this just go? Okay, so here's the statement. It says former Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Dwayne Haskins Jr. was tragically killed during the early morning hours of April 9, 2022 on I-595 in Broward County, Florida. The Florida Highway Patrol traffic homicide report shows that Dwayne was only feet away from making it safely across the roadway when he was struck and killed by an old dump truck. The truck was going faster than the speed limit, carrying excessive cargo, had brake system problems, and was traveling on low tread tires with separated sidewalls. Child, just call the people out for an unsafe vehicle. So the truck driver hit Dwayne with the front left side of the truck. This is directly in front of where the driver was sitting behind the steering wheel. The driver told the police that before he hit Dwayne, he saw Dwayne ahead of his vehicle in the center lane. The report also confirms that before Dwayne was killed, there were multiple other drivers who were driving in front of and behind the dump truck and saw Dwayne on the roadway and avoided hitting him. A few drivers even had time to call 911 and were present in the area before Dwayne was hit. There was tail lights, brake lights, and hazard flashers from these cars, as well as bright traffic construction signal board, of all which illuminated Dwayne as the dump truck driver was approaching the area where Dwayne was crossing. Many questions remain as to why the truck driver did not avoid hitting Dwayne, given the highly visible activity in the area before the impact and the fact that the other drivers did not hit Dwayne. So let's stop there. Because the truck driver clearly said in the Highway Patrol report that he did not swerve because he didn't want to hit other people and cause like a bigger accident that would have injured other people. And that was why he made the split-second decision, not to try and swerve and, swerve out of the way. He would have put other people in danger. Let's see. So it says the truck driver's cell phone records have not been disclosed. The report also notes that the driver refused to give a blood sample to the police at the scene and still has not provided the alcohol test results. Okay, so what alcohol test results are there if he refused to give a blood sample? I don't know. So it goes on to say, as to what occurred in the hours before Dwayne was killed, many questions remain unanswered. It is believed that Dwayne was targeted and drugged as part of a blackmail and robbery conspiracy. Now, child, where did y'all get all this information from? So, in fact, his highly expensive watch was stolen from him shortly before his death. The filing of this lawsuit is an important step in the process of uncovering the complete truth about this tragedy. The civil justice system allows for subpoenas to be issued for critical documents and for sworn testimony to be taken of people who have knowledge about the events leading up to Dwayne's death. We ask that any person with knowledge of this incident please contact us at 954-888-7720 or email us at info@elsleylaw.com. On behalf of Dwayne's wife, his family, and his memory, and on behalf of the truth, we respectfully request the public's patience and its withholding of judgment while the legal process continues. Okay, so they basically are saying that they are on a fact-finding mission to figure out what happened because they believe that the authorities have not been forthcoming with the information. And so it goes on, the article goes on to say 14 defendants were named in the lawsuit according to court documents, including the truck driver, the Florida Department of Transportation, and a rental car company. Haskins also alleges 4 other individuals, Joey Smith, Miriam Yassine, Wasal Yassine, and Carly Payton, drugged and robbed her late husband before he was killed. Those 4 are being sued for battery. Okay, now maybe the woman that was in the car is one of these people. Maybe it was Carly Payton or Miriam Yassine. Now let's see where this article goes to. Okay, so I guess I would have to find I'll do that after I finish reading this, see if I can pull this document up. So Haskins reportedly had a blood alcohol content of between 0.20 and 0.24 when he died, according to the toxicology report released in the weeks after his death. That is 3 times. That's right, because the legal limit in Florida is 0.08. And he was up there in the 0.20s. 3 times the legal limit in Florida. He reportedly drank heavily the night before while out with a friend. The toxicology report also noted that the sedative ketamine was the only other drug detected in the time of Haskins' death. The truck hit Haskins on Interstate 595 near Fort Lauderdale. After officials said he was walking between lanes on the road, a 911 call from Haskins' wife claims he left his vehicle and crossed the road to get gas. And so it's important to note that there was no gas can found. Several people in the comments on this article, they did make a good point that some gas stations do sell gas cans, especially along the highways, for people who run out of gas and walk to the gas station, and so that they can buy gas and get back to their car, or buy gas, get back to the car, and then come fill up their tank. So that is a plausible reason as to why he was going to get gas, but it makes no sense because he was intoxicated. Well, I guess that would make sense also if he was intoxicated, because then he would have known not to cross that highway, right? Whew, child. Now, y'all know his parents does not like this woman, and they actually had 3 different funerals for this man. The parents did not attend the funeral that the wife hosted. They had their own private service. It's just a mess, and I can only imagine what they are saying at this moment with her filing this lawsuit. Now, a lot of people in the comments were saying that she was just trying to get money. She's greedy, but they seem to have missed the point where the lawyer actually states that this lawsuit is about fact finding. They're trying to get hold of documents, witness statements to, I guess, prove this theory that they had, that he was set up and, was blackmailed and robbed and all this other stuff. And so I have seen people do things like that, where they'll file a lawsuit in order to get other information about a person. And then the article closes out saying that Haskins died at the age of 24 after 3 years in the NFL. The Washington Commanders drafted him number 15 in 2019 out of Ohio State, where he played for 2 seasons before signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2021. Family, friends, and teammates celebrated Haskins' life at an emotional memorial service in Maryland a few weeks after his death. So hold on a second, and I am going to see if I can pull up the actual court document. Okay, so the plaintiffs named in the case are Calabria Haskins, Dwayne Haskins, and Tamara Haskins, and then the estate of Dwayne Haskins Jr. I'm trying to remember if Tamara was the mother or maybe they had a daughter together. Not sure. Let me see if I can get that information real quickly here. Yeah, Tamara Haskins is Dwayne Haskins' mother, so I did have that right. Okay, and so then the people that she is suing, or that they are suing, because maybe they're in on it together, is Ariel Patino, Pedro Sinicio Diaz, Sorrell Enterprises Incorporated, the Florida Department of Transportation, John Doe Company, Rome Rental Car of Miami LLC, Boca Raton Hotel Management LP, Drive Shack Palm Beach LLC, Love Shack Hospitality Incorporated, GR Opco LLC, Joey Smith, Marion Yassine, Wazal Yassine, and Carly Payton. So those are the people that they have named in this deposition. And let's see if it'll let me look at this. Okay, so the cover sheet. Let's see. So in the Circuit County Court of the 17th Judicial Circuit in and for Broward County, Florida, and then they name the plaintiffs versus the defendants that I just named off to you guys. And it says, please indicate the estimated amount of the claim rounded to the nearest dollar. and she clicked on over $100,000. Okay, then let's see the document here. Ooh, child, this thing is 26 pages. I can assure you I'm probably not going to read the whole 26 pages. Oh, wait, it's only going to let us, let's see. What is this? Look like they may be blocking people from actually reading the case details. Okay. Well, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to read. Wait, hold on a second. Okay, guys, I always tell you that reading is fundamental, okay? So there was clearly a button there that said download all or view all documents, okay? So let's see. It says complaint. Comes now the plaintiff, Calabria Haskins, as personal representative of the estate of Dwayne Haskins Jr., deceased, on behalf of Calabria Haskins, Dwayne Haskins Sr., Tamara, depending on how you pronounce it, Haskins, and the estate of Dwayne Haskins Jr. by and through the undersigned counsel, and sues the defendants, and then it names all the people that I've already named, and then it says, therefore, would state as follows. 1, that this is an action for damages in excess of the jurisdictional limits of the court, and this court has jurisdiction over the subject matter. 2, at all times material hereto plaintiff Calabria Haskins, now living in Atlanta, Georgia, was a resident of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, was the wife of Dwayne Haskins Jr., and is the personal representative of the estate of Dwayne Haskins Jr., which estate action is currently pending in Orphans Court in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Child, what is Orphans Court? Who are the orphans? 3, at all times material hereto plaintiff Calabria Haskins is the proper party to bring this action under the Florida Wrongful Death Act, Florida Statute Section 768.16 through 786.26, see Exhibit A. 4, at all times material hereto plaintiff's decedent Dwayne Haskins Jr., hereinafter Dwayne Haskins, was a resident of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 5, at all times material hereto plaintiff Dwayne Haskins Jr. was and is a resident of Clarksburg, Maryland, and was the father of the decedent Dwayne Haskins. 6, at all times plaintiff Tamara Haskins was and is a resident of Clarksburg, Maryland, and was the mother of the decedent. Okay, so when they named the plaintiffs and it said Dwayne Haskins Sr., they were actually talking about his father, not him. Okay. And then at all times material hereto defendant Ariel Patino was and is a resident of Miami-Dade County, Florida. Okay, now they're naming off all the defendants. Okay, so let's see who these people are. So Sorrel Enterprises was and is a Florida corporation authorized to do business in the state of Florida. In fact, doing business in Broward County. Department of Transportation is a political subdivision of the state of Florida and is subject to the jurisdiction of this court, and own, manage, maintain, and or control the area where the subject incident occurred. All conditions precedent under Florida law, including Florida Statute 768.28, etc., have been satisfied as a notice of claim was properly presented. 11, at all times, John Doe Company, an unnamed contractor for Florida Department of Transportation, hereinafter John Doe Company, was and is a company doing business within the state of Florida and employed as a contractor for the Florida Department of Transportation, responsible for signage. 12. At all times, material defendant Rome Rental Car of Miami, doing business as Ace Rent-A-Car, was and is a Florida LLC, authorized to do business in the state of Florida and doing business in Broward County. Let's see, Boca Raton Hotel Management is a subsidiary of Wyndham Hotel and is a foreign limited partnership authorized to do business in the state of Florida and Palm Beach County. Then 14, at all times, material defendant Drive Shack Palm Beach LLC, doing business as Drive Shack Palm Beach, was and is a Florida limited liability company authorized to do business in the state of Florida, in fact, doing business in Palm Beach County. Love Shack Hospitality, Blue Anchor Pub, was and is a Florida corporation authorized to do business. Let's see, GR Opco, doing business as E11 EVEN. I guess they're trying to be fancy with 11. But anyway, they are an LLC in Florida. 17, defendant Joy Smith is a resident of Hillsborough County. 18, defendant Marion Yassin was and is a resident of Miami-Dade County. Wasil Yassin is a resident of Palm Beach County. Let's see, Carly Payton is a resident of Iowa. I guess she was visiting. Okay. Let's see, 21, on or about April 9th, 2022, plaintiff decedent Dwayne Haskins was attempting to cross the westbound lanes of Interstate 595 in Fort Lauderdale when he was struck by one or more vehicles, including a dump truck driven by Ariel Patino. As a direct proximate result of the acts and or omissions of the defendants as described in further detail herein, plaintiff's decedent Dwayne Haskins Jr. died of his injuries, and then the venue is proper in Broward County because plaintiff Dwayne Haskins died in Broward County. So count 1 is negligence of defendant Ariel Patino. Plaintiff re-alleges and re-avers paragraphs 1 through 23 as if fully set forth herein, and would further allege as follows. On or about April 9, 2022, Ariel Patino was a dump truck driver and was traveling westbound on Interstate 595 in Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida, operating a 1994 Kenworth truck, and then they give the VIN number. As the operator of a large, heavy vehicle, the defendant, Ariel Patino, had a duty to maintain the vehicle in a safe and reasonable manner to ensure the vehicle was safe to operate on the public roadways so as to avoid injuring other motorists and members of the public. At all times, material hereto, Ariel Patino had a further duty to operate the vehicle in a safe and reasonable manner so as to avoid injuring other motorists and members of the public, such as the plaintiff, Dwayne Haskins. Despite said duty, the defendant, Ariel Patino, was negligent and breached the aforesaid duty by any or all of the following acts and or omissions. Defendant violated Florida Statute 316-185 by failing to use due care while operating the motor vehicle, by driving carelessly, exceeded the posted speed limit, failed to keep a proper lookout, failed to maintain the brake on his truck, failed to maintain the tires on his truck, failed to make necessary repairs to his truck to keep the truck roadworthy, failed to regularly inspect his truck to ensure the truck was free from out-of-service violations before operating the truck on the public roadways, overloaded his truck such that the cargo load exceeded its legal weight limit, failed to avoid hitting the plaintiff, who was visible and avoidable had the defendant operated his dump truck with reasonable care. So 28, as a direct and proximate result of the negligent acts and or omissions of the defendant, Ariel Patino, the subject incident occurred and plaintiff's decedent, Dwayne Haskins, was injured and died. As a further direct, proximate, and foreseeable result of the acts and or omissions of the defendant, the plaintiff seeks all damages legally provided by the Florida Wrongful Death Act, Florida Statute 768.16 through 768.26. Okay, and then she certifies as a personal representative of the estate of Dwayne Haskins, demands judgment for damages against the defendant, blah, blah, blah. Then count 2, negligence of defendant, Pedro Sinicio Diaz. Plaintiff alleges and reveres paragraphs 1 through 23 as if fully set forth herein, and would further allege as follows. So basically, in count 2, she's charging this person with the same thing, alleging the same things as she did with the Patino guy. But then she adds on that on or about April 9, 2022, Pedro Diaz was and is the lawful owner of the subject 1994 Kenworth truck, specifically described in the paragraphs above. As the owner of the subject 1994 Kenworth truck, the defendant, Pedro Sinicio Diaz, had a duty to maintain the vehicle in a safe and reasonable manner. And then she goes on to list all the things that were wrong with the truck. And then, as a direct and proximate result of the negligent acts and or omissions of the defendant, the subject incident occurred, and plaintiff Dwayne Haskins died. And so she's certifying that. And then count 3, vicarious liability claim against defendant Pedro Sinicio Diaz, dangerous instrumentality. Plaintiff realleges. Okay, so she goes back through 1 through 29, and then she adds at all times material here to the defendant, basically recertifying the information that we've already read. And then in count 4 is Sorrel Enterprises, and then she reasserts the damages that were, or the information that she alleged about this vehicle, this Kenwood truck. So just restating that information and certifying. Count 5, vicarious liability claim against defendant, basically repeating the same information. Count 6, Florida Department of Transportation. She retalks about the 1 through 23, what was wrong with the truck. What does she add? At the aforementioned place and time, the defendant, Florida Department of Transportation, owned, managed, maintained, and or controlled the area where the incident occurred on I-595. As such, defendant, Florida Department of Transportation, had a non-delegible duty to the members of the public utilizing the subject roadways, including plaintiff decedent Dwayne Haskins, to exercise reasonable care in regard to the existence and the maintenance of the roadways, including construction materials, lighting, and signage, so that the conditions on the highway do not obstruct, hinder, and or block the clear vision area of the drivers of vehicles on the subject roadways. Lady, your husband was trying to cross an interstate, an active interstate that had cars traveling on it. Okay. But I get what you're saying. Like, there should have been signage and everything, making things clear for drivers, but most drivers aren't anticipating somebody running across the highway. Okay, so then she goes on, number 48. Despite said duty, defendant, Florida Department of Transportation, by and through its employees, agents, servants, and or contractors, failed to exercise reasonable care in regard the subject location and was in fact negligent at all times material by allowing the subject roadway to be in such a condition so as to obstruct, hinder, and or block the clear vision area for the drivers of vehicles on the subject roadway located on Interstate 595, approaching its intersection with Interstate 95 in Fort Lauderdale. 49. In addition, despite said duty, defendant, Florida Department of Transportation, by and through its employees, agents, servants, and contractors, failed to exercise reasonable care in regard the subject location and was in fact negligent at all times material by committing any one and any combination of and or all of the following acts and omissions: allowing a construction traffic signal board to be placed alongside the roadway in such a way as to obstruct, hinder, and or block the clear vision area for the drivers of vehicles on the subject roadways at all times material. B. Failing to provide and or repair and or maintain necessary street lighting along the roadway to improve driver visibility and provide clear vision for drivers on the subject roadways while traveling at night. Failing to post a lower speed limit in an area where construction was ongoing, which required placement of construction signage and resulted in reduced visibility to ensure the safety of drivers and members of the public utilizing the roadway. D. Failing to timely inspect, maintain, and remedy the area of reduced visibility along Interstate 595 at its approach to Interstate 95 to ensure the safety of drivers and members of the public utilizing the roadway. Okay, 50. As directed and proximate result of the negligent acts and or omissions of this defendant, Florida Department of Transportation, by and through its employees, agents, servants, and or contractors, the subject incident occurred and plaintiff's decedent, Dwayne Haskins, was injured and died. And then she certifies why this count should be included. So then count 7, a claim against defendant John Doe Company as unnamed contractor for Florida Department of Transportation. And so she repeats information that's already been given in paragraphs 1 through 23. And then she pretty much repeats a lot of what she said for the Florida Department. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Despite said duty, defendant John Doe Company, by and through its employees, agents, servants, and contractors, failed to exercise reasonable care in regard the subject location and was in fact negligent at all times. Basically saying the same thing. Yeah, that she said for the Florida Department because they were the contractor. So then we move on to count 8, claim against defendant Rome Rental Car of Miami, LLC, doing business as Ace Rent-A-Car. She repeats paragraphs 1 through 23. And then she says that on or about April 9th, 2022, the defendant, Rome Rental Car, was operating a car rental business and rented a 2020 Nissan Frontier. And then she gives the license plate number to the plaintiff's decedent, Dwayne Haskins. Pursuant to the terms of the vehicle lease entered into between Rome Rental Car and the plaintiff's decedent, defendant Rome Rental Car had a duty to provide safe and well-maintained rental vehicle to plaintiff's decedent Dwayne Haskins, 60. As the owner of the subject 2020 Nissan Frontier, the defendant Rome Rental Car had a duty to maintain the vehicle in a safe and reasonable manner to ensure the vehicle was safe to operate on the public roadways so as to avoid injuring other motorists and members of the public, including Dwayne Haskins. Despite said duty, the defendant, Rome Rental Car, was negligent and breached the aforesaid duty by providing a rental car to Dwayne Haskins that was unreasonably dangerous and hazardous because it was mechanically damaged and ran out of gas. Child, she did not. Girl, running out of gas as somebody who has ran out of gas multiple times. Because I'm going to drive, I am going to drive a car to the last drop, okay, before I fill up. That doesn't make the vehicle, poorly maintained, that your man didn't put gas in the car. And we don't even know if if the tank was empty. Furthermore, he was high, he was drunk. We don't know why he got out that car because nobody said that the car was on E. Right? So we don't even know if that's a true story that he had ran out of gas. And the person that was in the car, maybe they told the story about the car not having gas. I'm not sure. Because if Dwayne Haskins was deceased on the highway, how does the highway patrol know why he was crossing the road? Unless they talk to the person in the car, who we are now assuming, right, is one of them chicks, right, that she named, that was from Iowa. I'm thinking it was the lady from Iowa that was in the car. Or either the man, wife, remember the husband and wife involved here. So anyway, child. 61. Despite said duty, the defendant, Rome Rental Car, was negligent and breached the aforesaid duty by providing a rental car to Dwayne Haskins that was unreasonably dangerous and hazardous because it was mechanically damaged and ran out of gas. Okay. And then she said that Dwayne Haskins had to leave the empty truck on the side of the road and traverse dangerous highway traffic to obtain gas to refill the truck, which put Dwayne Haskins in a reasonable, foreseeable zone of dangerous risk from which he was killed. 62. As a direct and proximate result of the negligent acts and or omissions of this defendant, Rome Rental Car, by and through its employees, agents, servants, and or contractors, the subject incident occurred and plaintiff's decedent Dwayne Haskins was injured and died. Now, what do y'all think about this woman talking about it's the rental car company's fault that the car ran out of gas? Some cars usually run out of gas when you drive. I mean, for example, my car can travel 400 miles on average before it runs out of gas. And then there's like that little thing on the monitor that tells you, I think it's due to empty, because it counts down. So when you fill up your tank, it'll tell you how many miles you can travel on this tank of gas. And then as you begin to drive, that DTE comes up. I'm thinking it's due to empty. And it'll tell you. And then when you get to like 35 miles left to drive, you'll start getting that flashing light telling you that it's time to get gas, that you're about to run out of gas. So I'm sure all of that was taking place in this 2020 Frontier that he was renting. And I don't know why I thought it was a different car that he was renting, or maybe I just assumed because he was a football player that he was driving a luxury vehicle, because I don't remember them. I don't know why I thought it was like a Lexus or something that he was driving, but she's saying it was a Frontier truck. So anyway, she goes on to certify that count. Then count 9, claim against defendant Boca Raton Hotel Management. Now, child, how did Wyndham Garden Hotel in Boca Raton get involved? So it says plaintiff realleges and reaveres paragraph 1 through 23. So we don't need to go through that again. 64, at all times material hereto defendant Wyndham Hotel operated the hotel and further operated as a restaurant and bar, okay, on the premises. So she's saying they served him the alcohol. So on or about April 8th, 2022, the plaintiff's decedent, Dwayne Haskins, was a business invitee lawfully and properly on the defendant's premises located at 1950 Glades Road, Boca Raton, Palm Beach County, Florida. As such, defendant Wyndham Hotel owed plaintiff in his capacity as a business invitee on defendant's premises a duty of reasonable care to maintain and operate the premises in a reasonably safe condition for the safety of business invitees on the premises, which include reasonable efforts to keep premises free from dangerous and hazardous conditions that might foreseeably give rise to loss, injury, or damage, and to exercise reasonable care to take actions to reduce, minimize, or eliminate foreseeable risks that pose a dangerous condition on the premises. Okay, 67. Despite said duty, defendant Wyndham Hotel was negligent and breached the aforesaid duty by allowing patrons to use drugs and to drug other patrons, including the plaintiff, even when defendant's own employees were in attendance and observing the same. Oh, child. Now, so then she goes on and says, as a direct and proximate result of the negligent acts and or omissions of the defendant Wyndham Hotel by and through its employees, agents, servants, and or contractors, the plaintiff was drugged directly and proximately causing and or contributing to cause the subject incident. Oh, child, that led to his death. Now, honey, so I guess the mother folks that she done included in this lawsuit, that they was all at the Wyndham partying, drinking, and drugging, and probably doing some other stuff, okay, up in them hotel rooms, right? And they're saying that the Wyndham had a duty to stop that. And so let's find out. I guess when we keep reading, we're going to find out who worked at the Wyndham. Okay, what was going on at the Wyndham. So count 10, claim against defendant. Drive Shack, Palm Beach. Let's see. So she repeats 1 through 23. Let's see. 70, at all times material here too. Defendant Drive Shack operated a golf driving range, which also operated as a restaurant and bar. And then she's saying, on or about April 8th and 9th, 2022, the plaintiff decedent Dwayne Haskins was a business invitee lawfully and properly of the defendant's premises located at 1710 Belvedere Road, West Palm Beach. So I guess when they left the Wyndham, they headed over to the Drive Shack. So it says, in his capacity as a business invitee on defendant's premises, a duty of reasonable care, blah, blah, blah. So she's repeating what she said about the hotel. 73, despite said duty, the defendant Drive Shack was negligent and breached the aforesaid duty of allowing patrons to use drugs and to drug other patrons, including the plaintiff, even when defendant's own employees were in attendance and observing this behavior. It says, as a direct and proximate result of the negligent acts and or omissions of this defendant Drive Shack by and through its employees, agents, servants, and or contractors, the plaintiff was drugged directly and proximately causing and or contributing to cause to the subject incident and plaintiff's decedent Dwayne Haskins' death. Okay, and then she certifies that count. Child, where 11? Okay, claim against. I'm sorry, y'all. Decedent. Lord Jesus, I'm getting tired. Claim against defendant Love Shack Hospitality, doing business as Blue Anchor Pub. She basically repeats everything that she said against the other people. Basically, they knew that their employees, agents, and servants led to his death by serving him, okay? Watched him being drugged directly and all that other stuff, okay? So count 12, claim against defendant, GR Opco LLC, E11 Miami. Let's see. She basically repeats. She lets us know that they are a 24-hour nightclub in Miami, Florida. And she basically says the same thing, that they're agents, employees, servants, contractors. The plaintiff was drugged directly. She repeats all that information. Then we move on to count 13. Battery against Joey Smith as to decedent Dwayne Haskins. She repeats 1 through 23, and then she says, on or about April 8th and 9th, Joey Smith committed battery upon the plaintiff's decedent Dwayne Haskins by drugging Dwayne Haskins to blackmail and or rob him, causing him and or contributing to cause him severe injury and death. At all times, material hereto, drugging an individual is an intentional affirmative act which, as intended to cause bodily harm. 90, at all times, material hereto, drugging an individual is harmful and offensive conduct. And then she certifies that charge. Then count 14 is against Miriam Yassin. And she basically says the same thing. Count 15 is against Wasal Yassin. And she says the same thing, drugging and blackmailing him. She certifies. And then count 16 is against Carly Payton. She repeats paragraphs 1 through 23. Same thing, drugging him. Let's see. And that's it, y'all. So very generic. Okay, there are no details really outlining what she knows. This is very a hypothetical case, I would say, where she's just throwing, you drugged my husband. I need more details on why you drugged my husband. And so I want to reiterate that this is basically, she's not trying to get money. The people in the comments on the article is going in saying she's just money hungry. She's trying to get money. That is not the purpose of this lawsuit. The lawsuit is really a fact-finding mission, because evidently the Florida Department of Transportation, the Florida Highway, and what other entities were involved in investigating this accident and death kind of closed it. They tied it up in a nice package, put a bow on it, and closed the case, saying that there was nothing else they could do. That he died. It's his own negligence for crossing the street. He shouldn't have been trying to cross the street, and that basically the truck driver had to make a split-second decision on whether or not to try and swerve out of the way or to hit him head on, and possibly saving his own life and the life of other people that were driving in the vicinity. The wife is not buying that. She wants to know, how did her husband get to a .20 to .240, 3 times the legal limit of intoxication in the state of Florida? How did he get there? What happened to this woman that was in that car? Who was the woman in the car? What did the woman in the car tell the investigators? How did the woman in the car leave the scene? What happened hours before that her husband was so intoxicated, had drugs in his system? All of this stuff. She just wants answers. She wants a clear understanding of what happened, and to rule out foul play, because she believes that these people were blackmailing her husband, that they drugged her husband. Maybe they were maybe she has other information like money missing from his bank account. Maybe people have come to her and told her, hey, this happened at the Wyndham. This happened at this, the Love Shack or whatever it was called. Like, evidently she is getting information from outside sources that were not related to this investigation. And she wants an investigation to see if these people led to the death of her husband and to get the truth of what happened. And then there also could be some consideration involving insurance money. Like maybe she can't collect insurance money because of things that happened, or because he was on drugs, because he was drinking, because he participated in his death. And so we don't know, and that's what she's filing this lawsuit for, to get answers to find out what exactly happened to her husband. So guys, that's it for me. Go ahead, leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about all of this, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share the video. I shall talk to you guys later. Bye bye.